We can start, Shirode, so it's 10 o'clock.
Yes, madam. May I audible, Kalyani madam? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, all. I am Dr. D.S. Sirode, Associate Professor in the Department of Pharmacology. I extend warm welcome to you all for day 5 of the National Webinar Series on Regulatory Affairs. This webinar is organized by IQAC of Dr. Patil College of Pharmacy in collaboration with APTI. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our principal and convener, Dr. N.S. Vavare sir, and co-convener, Dr. Silpa Jyoti madam, and express my sincere gratitude for their guidance, visionary outlook, and continuous support in making this series a great success. I would like to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to the organizing team also for their efforts in conducting this webinar series. I hope these sessions so far have been both engaging and valuable for all. But before we begin the session, I would like to share a few instructions. First of all participants are requested to keep themselves mute throughout the session. Second, submission of the feedback form and quiz is mandatory to receive the e-certificate. Third, if you have any question, please feel free to drop the message in the chat box. Definitely, we will address them during the question answer at the end. Now I request Ms. Gargi to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Ashok Avhad.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ms. Gargi Dhaneshwar, and I am an assistant professor at the Department of Pharmaceutics, and I extend a warm welcome to you all. It is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Mr. Ashok Nivrutti Avhad. Mr. Ashok Avhad is a dynamic project management and strategy professional with over 5 years of experience across pharmaceutical research and development, product development, and client-focused delivery. He has demonstrated expertise in project execution, stakeholder management, risk mitigation, and strategic planning within the pharmaceutical industry. Currently, he is serving as a team lead for project management at Freer Solutions, Hyderabad, where he leads clients' project and oversees project planning and risk management to ensure successful project delivery with a strong focus on compliance and client satisfaction. Prior to this, he has worked with reputed organizations including NQ Ethicals Private Limited and Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, contributing significantly to pharmaceutical research and commercialization projects. Mr. Avhad has completed his M Pharmacy in Pharmaceutical Chemistry from IIT BHU Varanasi, securing second rank with an outstanding CGPA of 9.6. He is also a patent holder and has published research work in the field of Alzheimer's disease drug discovery. With certification in Agile and Waterfall project management, Lean Six Sigma, and project planning, he brings a strong blend of technical expertise and management skills. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashok Avhad for today's session. Over to you, sir. We are excited to learn from your valuable insights.
Thank you so much, Kaji, for nice introduction. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to present a webinar on leadership and project management in regulatory affairs, jointly organized by Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Pharmacy and APTI. And I'm really grateful to present this topic with the students today, the B Pharmacy and M Pharmacy students. I would like to request coordinator to present the screen with the presentation that is shared by me.
Yes, sir. Just give me 2 minutes. Is the PPT visible?
No, Gargi. Share the entire screen and then go on the
Is
presentation.
is it visible now?
No.
Yeah,
Yes,
now
it
your
is
screen is
visible.
visible.
Okay, okay.
Just
Yeah.
make it in presentation mode.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So today's our topic for this webinar is leadership and project management in regulatory affairs. Although I am a project manager who has an experience into managing the project across the pharmaceutical product development, including the initiation of project until the commercialization. However, in today's webinar, we will be specifically focusing on the project management in the regulatory affairs. So currently, in my current organization, I am leading a team of project management professionals who is working on the regulatory affairs projects. So I would like to request coordinator to just move on to the next slide. Today, today's agenda of webinar is we will specifically focusing on two topics. One is the regulatory affairs and another is the project management and how these two topics are interlinked with each other. So in subsequent slides, we are going to discuss about the introductions to regulatory affairs, drug development and regulatory pathway, regulatory submissions, project management, the basics of project management and role of project manager in regulatory affairs project. Then the career opportunities in both regulatory affairs and the project management. And as all of us knows that in current scenario or at the current situation in the world, AI is being promoted and to get adopted by each and every individual into their definite sector. So here also we are going to discuss about the role of AI in the regulatory affairs as well as project management. Then we are going to discuss about the future trends. Those are to the project management, including the involvement of AI and the skill set those are needed to become a successful regulatory professional as well as the successful project manager. So next slide, please. So all of us knows that what is the regulatory affairs, but I would like to explain you in very short. So regulatory affairs is the department who is the interface between the pharmaceutical companies and the health authority. So pharmaceutical companies, they develop, manufactures and sales the pharmaceutical products, or we say medicine into the countries. and they need to follow the regulations and rules of the that specific countries where they are selling their medicines or the products. For example, if we say that any company, though they want to sell their product into the United States of America, then they have to follow the rules and regulations of the Health Authority of United States, which is called as a USFDA. So here we need to follow the harmonized guidelines of the world, as well as there are the country specific guidelines. Each country has their own regulatory health authority who rules and regulates the compliance and regulations towards the medicines and pharmaceutical products for the companies who are selling their products or medicines into their country. Also, the Regulatory Affairs Department ensures the compliance and regulations being followed by their company to develop, manufacture, or sell their medicines or the medical product into these specific countries. Also, Regulatory Affairs team supports product approvals and life cycle management. I'll discuss in detail about the cycle of pharmaceutical product development and how the role of regulatory affairs departments comes into the picture while the developing the product, then manufacturing the product and selling the medicine into the specific countries. Also, regulatory affairs department has to ensure that to protect the patient safety that includes the monitoring the adverse drug reactions, that this particular work is done by the pharmacovigilance department. Also, regulatory affairs team has to ensure that the product quality is being consistent throughout from the day one of commercialization until the discontinuation of the product. So this is all about the regulatory affairs. I'll be explaining you the importance into the next slide. So why this regulatory affairs department is being there into the pharmaceutical industry? That's because the R&D team develops the pharmaceutical product, and that development needs to be submitted in the form of dossier to the health authority, where pharmaceutical company wants to sell their medicine. So, for example, there is one company in India who is developing one product and they want to sell that product within the India to the to the entire society. In that case, they need to submit the data of their medicine from the development stage until the full exhibit batches of those products, and that dossier needs to be submitted to the health authority. Health authority takes a specific time period to review their product documents, including the development data, clinical data, other kind of biostudies data, stability data, and based on the accuracy and the compliance with respect to the guidelines, agency reviews their data and then provides an approvals to the pharmaceutical company to commercialize or launch their medicine into that particular country. So here, regulatory affairs department is needed for the faster product approval. If the development team has to submit the data, submit the document, that would be too hectic. So that is why there is an regulatory affairs department in each and every company. Or either if it is not there, they usually outsource with the consulting companies for the regulatory activities, and they get the faster approvals to their product. So regulatory affairs professional are those people who they are carrying the knowledge of regulatory guidelines, regulations, and they implement that knowledge into their product dossiers and regulatory to develop the regulatory strategy, and then they submit their product application to the health authorities to get the faster product approval. So that's why the regulatory affairs department is very important and key department who manages the product approvals of the pharmaceutical companies. Along with that, they ensures that the compliance is being followed by the pharmaceutical companies as per the global regulations, including the ICH guidelines or the country-specific guidelines by the each and every health authority. Also, regulatory affairs department helping in addressing the recalls, addressing the penalties, so that the product discontinuation can be avoided. For example, there is one product that is being sold into a specific country and adverse reaction being reported by the physicians of that country. In that case, the regulatory affairs team has to provide an reply or response to the queries that is being raised by the physicians or the end user, that is the customer of the medicinal product. Along with that, their key role is building the company reputation. As stronger regulatory team of the company, the more is the reputation of the company. And along with that, as I mentioned, the ensuring patient safety is one of the key aspects that has to be ensured by the regulatory affairs professional. Next slide, please. So there are a lot many pharmaceutical companies in the world who are working on developing the pharmaceutical and the medicinal products. Many companies, those are the innovative companies developing the new chemical entities. So new chemical entities are those molecules or those drugs that is being developed in the world for the first time. For example, paracetamol that is used for treatment of the fever. So paracetamol is invented by any company first time to treat the fever. So that company has filed their application as a new chemical entity to the health authority to get an approval from them to sell this medicine for the treatment of fever. So this is how the role of regulatory affairs and the regulatory authorities comes in the managing the medicinal products into their specific countries. So there are lot many companies who are developing, manufacturing, and selling their product across the world. And each country in the world has their own regulatory bodies or their own regulatory authorities. Here are some examples of the regulatory authorities. So, USFDA is the regulatory authority of United States of America. EMA is the European Medical Agency for the all the countries. Those comes under the Europe region. Then for India, it is a CDSCO, that is the Japan, it is PMDA and the MHLW. And for Australia, it is TGA. The next slide, please. So here actually I'm going to explain you how the regulatory activities are being involved during the drug development or the product development life cycle. So you, all of you here, like here are a B Pharm and M Pharmacy student, they knows like how drug is being developed. It is the part of their syllabus. How the drug discovery started. It includes the lead identification, the lead structure is being identified initially. Then it is being optimized, that is called as a lead optimization. Then that comes into the discovery phase where the safety of this particular drug, uh, we cannot say it as a drug molecule until it is proven by the clinical trials, but we can say it as a new chemical entity is being tested for its safety and efficacy. Then it comes to the next phase, that is preclinical trials that is being conducted on the animals. And based on the data, safety, efficacy, and dosing data of preclinical studies, it is decided or it is optimized that whether that particular new chemical entity is being effective against the target disease or not. And based on that, application is submitted to the health authority to seek an approval to conduct the clinical trials. So based health authority reviews the data, and based on their review of the data, they provides an approval to proceed the studies, and then the pharmaceutical companies can conduct the clinical trials. And based on the output of the clinical trials, the product is being approved or product is being rejected. So this is a continuous process, and it takes lot many years to complete this process. So I'm trying to say here the regulatory activities are not only the activities which is after the development of the product, but those activities are being involved from the initial discovery and development of the pharmaceutical product. So step by step, I will explain you how the drug development life cycle comes, or how the drug development life cycle involves, what are the steps, and where the regulatory activities are being involved. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here, if you see, there are the two in this figure. There are two charts. One is on the upper side, another is on the lower side. The upper one, that the total green boxes, that includes the standard drug development life cycle of the new chemical entity. And the below one, where is there are three red boxes and two green boxes, it is the drug development life cycle of the generic medicines. So I'll explain you step by step how the new chemical entity drug development happens, and how, like, what is the difference between the standard new chemical entity development and the abbreviated new drug the generic product development. So first of all, development of the new chemical entity. As I explained earlier, drug discovery involves there is a one chemical entity or the chemical structure that is being identified by the researcher with the help of now there are lot many techniques to understand whether the drug is effective against the particular target disease. So researcher, they selects one particular target. For example, in my master's, I selected Alzheimer's disease as an target for the development of drug or the discovery of the drug. Then we took all the databases, all the drug molecules, those are discontinued or those are already into the market by the US FDA. There are almost 4,500 structure. Those are being evaluated hypothetically using the different softwares that is called as a QSAR, like QSAR technique. And based on the data of QSAR, we found few structures. Out of that few structures, we again gone for the in vitro studies. So evaluating those molecules against the enzymes, our target enzymes or our target protein, and then conducting the experiment on that target protein, we identified few structures are being effective against that particular target. So this is what the drug discovery comes. Then once we found that the drug, the new chemical entity is effective against our target enzyme or target protein, that comes into the preclinical studies. Then pharmaceutical company need to submit their IND application, and they conduct the preclinical studies. So here, pharmaceutical company needs to submit the data of their new chemical entity to the health authority. After conducting the preclinical studies, the phase comes if the drug is safe and efficacious and dose is being determined, then it comes at the stage of clinical trials where the health authorities has to ensure the safety and efficacy of that medicine on the individual that is being participated into the clinical trials. And for that purpose, pharmaceutical companies who are the owner of that drug product need to submit the data of drug discovery phase as well as the preclinical trial to the health authority to evaluate. And based on the data that is submitted by the pharmaceutical company, health authority evaluates whether that is being safe to be used into the humans or not to conduct the clinical trial. And based on that, health authority gives and response to them after their IND submission to conduct the clinical trials. If there are any queries that health authority has, they get back to the companies asking the justifications in terms of the safety of that drug, particular new chemical entity to use it into the clinical trials. And then this drug product moves into the clinical trial phase. So there are three major clinical trial phases as phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So the purpose of all these three phases is different. You might be studying it into your syllabus. So I'll not explain it in detail. But overall, I would like to say here the IND application, that is, the investigational new drug application, needs to be submitted by the pharmaceutical company to the health authority to conduct the clinical trial. So here, the role of pharmaceutical regulatory affairs involves. Once during the clinical trial conduct, when the clinical trials being conducted on the healthy volunteer as well as the patient in the lateral phases of the clinical trial, all the data, adverse reactions that is called as a SUSAR, needs to be submitted to the health authority within the particular time period as per the guidelines set by the health authority. So if any patient is going with any side effect or any adverse reaction, that needs to be reported to the health authority during the conduction of clinical trial. Along with that, the pharmaceutical company needs to submit their clinical study protocols, their clinical study investigators details, like the people who are doctors or the physicians who are be conducting this clinical trial on the patients or on the healthy volunteers. All those data needs to be submitted to the health authority. So here, the role of regulatory affairs comes into the picture. So first is for the IND submission. Second is for the monitoring the clinical trials with the help of clinical team. All the data related to adverse reactions, all the data related to safety needs to be submitted to the health authority. And once upon having a positive outcome of the clinical trial, the innovator or the pharmaceutical company, they have to submit the new drug application to the health authority, including their development, drug discovery, preclinical, clinical, and development data to the health authority. And then health authority views their application. And based on the ensuring, by ensuring whether the safety and efficacy be quality, safety and efficacy being ensured by the pharmaceutical company is being evaluated based on the documents or the data submitted by the pharmaceutical company, and then health authority gives an approval to sell that particular medicine into the country or into their region. So this is what the complete drug development life cycle of the new chemical entity. That means the first medicine that is used for the specific disease. Now comes to the generic drug development. So here again, the role of pharmaceutical regulatory affairs professionals comes into the drug development and the submission. So you are well aware that the pharmaceutical development of generic medicine do not involve the drug discovery phase, preclinical studies, or the clinical studies. It only includes the drug development and submission of that drug development data to the health authority, and then health authority reviews that data, and based on that, they provides an approval towards your drug product. So this is a complete drug development cycle. And here in the generic product drug development, the regulatory department's roles is involved into the drug development. So, example, any pharmaceutical company, they wanted to develop a generic medicine against the particular innovative drug product. So they have to decide their strategy, how they are going to develop that product. There are the guidances provided by the health authorities. For example, US FDA. They have their draft guidances provided to develop the generic medicines. But pharmaceutical companies and their regulatory affairs department has to follow the guidelines and understand the drug development strategy, and based on that strategy, R&D team of pharmaceutical company decides and they develops the drug. And once upon the development of drug, as per the regulations, the dossier is submitted to the health authority for the generic medicines. So this is what the difference between the entire new chemical entity development and the pharmaceutical generic product development, and how the role of regulatory affairs department during this product development life cycle. You can put your questions in the chat box. I will answer all those questions at the end of the session. Next slide, please. So, as I explained you earlier, how the drug development cycle is. Based on that, there are the types of regulatory submission. So, as I have already explained you, IND, it is an investigational new drug application, or DCT, it is a clinical trial application. So, this application is submitted before the clinical trial to seek an approval to conduct the clinical trials. That is the IND or CTA. NDA is the new drug application which is submitted to health authority after conducting the clinical trial. ANDA is the abbreviated new drug application which is submitted in case of generic medicines, that is after the drug development, after the development of generic medicine, where we are not submitting any clinical trials data. DMF is the drug master file. It is related to active pharmaceutical ingredients. That is the API, the main content of our pharmaceutical product. Then this all the applications are submitted either in the form of CTD or eCTD. And along with that, we need to submit the labeling and the packaging documents. So all these applications, IND, CTA, ANDA, MDA, or DMF is submitted either in the form of CTD or either in the form of eCTD. So CTD is the 5 module, like it is a 5 module structure, and eCTD is the electronic form of that 5 module structure. So how this, as I explained you about the drug development cycle, how it is correlated with the CTD structure or eCTD structure. So there are total 5 modules in the CTD or eCTD. Which includes your application form, the cover letter. So there are different sections, almost 12 to 13 sections under the module 1, which includes the labeling information, how the label of final product will be. Then it includes the information of GMP, like where this drug product is going to manufacture, or that is being manufactured, whether they are following the good manufacturing practices as per the guidelines or not. So all those information is included into the module 1, which is an administrative information. Module 2 is the summary, which is the summary of module 3, 4, and 5. Module 3 is for the CMC, which includes the data of chemistry, manufacturing, and control. And module 4 is non-clinical data, and module 5 is the clinical data. So this is what the structure. As I explained you earlier, the drug development cycle, the data that is collected throughout the drug and pharmaceutical product development is included into the CTD or ECTD. It is called as a dossier, and that dossier is submitted to the health authority. Then, what are the departments? Those are involved into the regulatory affairs. It includes the regulatory CMC department, who manages the Module 3. It includes the administrative department, who is specifically responsible for Module 1. It involves the publishing and submission, labeling and artwork, medical writing. There are again a team who helps in writing the non-clinical and clinical sections of the dossier, that is taken care by the medical writing team. Then pharmacovigilance department, whose role is specifically after the approval of product, to monitor the adverse reaction of the product that is already in the market. Then there is a department for managing the life cycle of the product, that is the post-approval department. So if there are any changes that is happened after the approval of product, to ensure the compliance and the safety, there is a department who needs to follow the procedure as per the health authority and submit their post-approval changes to the health authority. And one key department, that is a legal representation. So each country, each health authority is only entertaining the company or the person who is the legal representative of that particular company. So, for example, uh, Prayer is the company. So Prayer has its legal representative in USA, who is the point of contact with the health authority. So these are all the departments involved into the regulatory affairs. Why I am explaining this much into the details? Because here you are having an opportunity to develop your career. So regulatory, like just joining the job of regulatory affairs means like where to work. So it involves all these departments, all these activities. In like most of the pharmaceutical companies, one single regulatory professional handles all these activities. But in many companies, there are the different departments or the different teams who take care of these activities, and you can choose your career into these particular departments under the regulatory affairs. Next slide. Yeah, along with that, there is a department, that's compliance and pharmacovigilance department, which is the most important one, who helping the pharmaceutical companies in monitoring the adverse drug reaction and reporting of the adverse drug reactions. Then they submits the risk management plan, and also there is an requirement in order to ensure the compliance, that we need to follow the good manufacturing practices, good laboratory practices, and good clinical practices. Next slide. So this is what I talked about the regulatory affairs department. Now, the main topic of our today's webinar is the project management into the regulatory affairs. So how project management is involved and why it is important to handle the regulatory activities of pharmaceutical company to ensure the timely submission, timely approval of the pharmaceutical product to gain a maximum revenue to the company. This is what I'm now going to talk about the project management. Next slide, please. So here, if you see the picture, there is a one boat. There are 4 people in that boat, and each person, they are driving into by their own direction. So if you see, 2 people are driving into the one direction and 2 people into the another direction. It means that boat will move never. That boat will not move forward or backward. The boat will remain on the same place. This is how the pharmaceutical projects are being stuck, or the situation of pharmaceutical products. pharmaceutical projects. Well, because there are lot many departments have involved in the pharmaceutical product development. The key departments that we can say is the formulation development, analytical development, quality assurance, regulatory affairs, and so on, or the manufacturing department. So all these departments they works as per their own way. But in order to give a direction to the project, there is a need of the project manager to conduct or to carry the project. So that's why project management is important in pharmaceutical companies to ensure timely timely completion within the budget completion and the gaining the maximum revenue to the pharmaceutical company by selling their product. That's why the project management department is important, who control and coordinates all the cross-functional team or all the cross-functional departments to ensure smooth execution of the pharmaceutical product development, submission of it to the health authority, and then the approval of the product. Next slide, please. So, what are the key activities taken up by the project manager in the regulatory affairs project? So, project manager plans the regulatory activities. They are coordinating with the cross-functional teams, managing the timelines and budget, risk assessment and mitigation. So, being a project manager is responsible for managing the project from its initiation until the commercialization. So project manager basically they draw the complete baseline of the product development, which involves the formulation development, then the validation, then conducting the submission batches, which includes the technology transfer, involves validation of the analytical methods, then manufacturing of the submission batches, conducting the trials on those manufacturing batches. Either it includes the clinical trial or the bio studies or other studies based on the regulatory strategy. And then submission of dossier to the health authority with the help of regulatory affairs department. And then managing the queries to get an approval of the product. So project manager has to ensure the complete timelines throughout this project. Then to ensure the budget, there are the specific budget given by the management to complete that project. And project manager has to ensure that this project is being completed within that particular budget. If there are any risks or any issues that being occurred during the execution of project manager has to manage those issues and the risks. Specifically in the regulatory affairs project manager has to ensure and to decide the first stage is to deciding the regulatory strategy, by which strategy the dossier will be submitted, then coordinating with the cross-functional department. As I mentioned you in my previous slide, there are multiple departments involved into the regulatory affairs. So coordinating with those many departments to get their part completed within a specific timeline that is decided at the start of project. If there is any delays are happening, then identifying the reason for the delays and appropriately informing it to the management, and then correction of the timelines. This is what the role of project manager in the regulatory affairs project. If there is any risk, either that is associated with timeline, budget, or any compliance risk or any regulation related risk, project manager has to put that risk into their risk register, and that risk has to be monitored throughout the project execution so that it will not be converted into the issue. So this is what the project manager has to play an important role in the regulatory affairs project. Next slide. Okay. Now, what are the day-to-day activities of the project manager in the regulatory affairs? So they have to lead the regulatory submission strategy. In the company, there are regulatory professionals. Project manager has to coordinate with them to understand what will be the regulatory submission strategy, like what kind of application it will be, what will be the study strategy, like with what approach we are going. We are either we are going with the clinical trials, we are not going with the clinical trial. If not, then why? If yes, then why? Then what is the budget needed? Then to monitor that budget, coordinating with CROs to conduct those clinical trials or the bio studies. I'm talking overall, like including the new chemical entity development as well as the generic development. So project manager has to ensure everything to decide the submission strategy. He has to coordinate with all the cross-functional teams, then conducting all the studies those are needed for submission of the product. So in regulatory specific project management role, project manager has to lead the regulatory submission strategy. Then he has to coordinate with the all cross-functional teams. Now I'm talking on the both the front, a pharmaceutical product development project manager and regulatory specific project manager. So here the project manager who is taking care of overall activity, he has to coordinate with R&D, QA, manufacturing, and regulatory department. Regulatory project manager has to coordinate with this department reversely to ensure that all the documents of dossier are being received to the regulatory department on time, so that they can compile that dossier, they can publish that dossier, and then they submit the dossier to health authority in in the targeted timeline. Then, as I said, there are different milestones in the project. Project manager has to decide that milestone. He has to put the activities, smaller activities under that milestone based on the phase of project, and he has to monitor each activity and each milestone is being completed within that particular time period and within the budget. And then communication with health authority, as I said, there is a legal representative in each country who is responsible for communication with the health authority. But project manager has to coordinate all the communications between the legal representative and the other department of the company. And the main and important task here for the project manager is the project governance and the MIS. So project governance is the sticking to the project plan, whether project is being executed as per the decided timelines and within the decided budget, whether we are on track or not. All those information has to presented to the management by the project manager, and also the MIS, that is the management information system. So time to time communication to the management, so that management can understand where we are at the project execution stage, and when probably whether we are meeting our target timeline of launching the product into the market, because there are too many competitors in the pharmaceutical era. Like uh, uh, a single medicine is developed by many companies, but who gains maximum profit is the who first times develop that product or who first time launches that product. So there is a race between the pharmaceutical company, and that is why the role of project manager is to ensure that project is being completed and the medicine is being marketed within the targeted timeline by the management. So this is what the role of regulatory project manager. Next slide, please. Now, as I said, it is like what project manager do. All these activities that I mentioned, these are the major milestones. But what exactly needed, or like what are the key factors that project manager is monitoring is the activities. Like for example, there are 10 activities. Project manager has to ensure that 10 activities being completed within the time frame that he has decided at the initiation of project. He decides it, like management comes to the project management team, asks them that they want to develop this product, and this product must be launched in particular timeline. Based on that, manager reversely calculate the timelines and he develops the complete project plan. And then that project plan is being assured by the each and every cross-functional team. Their alignment is being taken into the consideration, whether they will be able to complete all those activities within that time frame. And based on that, project manager then day to day execute all the activities, which is called as a deliverables in terms of project management. So what what are the things that project manager needed to successfully complete the project or the successful delivery of the project? So that includes the knowledge. So first of all, project manager should understand the complete project. He should have a knowledge, like what are the activities involved, what is the strategy, then the what are the skills those are needed, then the tools. Project manager use the specific tools to carry out the day-to-day project management activities and different techniques as well. But the key parameter that project manager has to ensure or he has to monitor into his day-to-day life is all these six things that is presented into the diagram. One is the time. So project manager has to ensure the timeline of the project. Second thing, the quality. So project manager has to ensure the quality of the deliverables. So if you say in the regulatory affairs, what is the quality of the deliverables? Is the quality of dossier that is being submitted to the health authority. The data, the document that must be accurate, that must be as per the guidelines, so that whenever regulatory authority reviews that data, maximum quality documents helps to get an faster approval. If the quality of document is not appropriately ensured, in that case, health authority gives and queries, and the approval of that application is getting delayed. So which is impacting the time. Third important thing that project manager has to monitor is the cost. Cost, it is called as a budget. So management gives a specific budget. That budget is decided based on the product strategy. For example, if management of the pharmaceutical company, they are getting 10 rupees by selling that product, they has to put a budget of specific amount below that amount. There is an estimated revenue decided by the management from each product. If we launch that product within the targeted timeline, considering the competitions of the other pharmaceutical company. So based on that, the budget is being given to the project manager. So he has to ensure that the project is being conducted within that budget. If there is any additional studies or additional activities being coming into the picture, then there is a proper procedure to have and change into the scope. Then changing the scope involves the full process of the change management, and then the additional budget is being added. So all these activities has to be coordinated by the project manager. Hence, the cost is one of the key factor which project manager has to deliver. Which project manager has to ensure while delivering the project. Then the resources. Project manager is also responsible for managing the resources for the project. For example, there is one product for which we have to submit an dossier to the US FDA. So how many regulatory CMC resources will be required? How many publishing resources will be required? How many medical writing resources will be required? Based on that, project manager has to decide the resource mapping. He has to assign those resources on the project with the help of functional manager. You like the simple question will come, like if there is a people in the regulatory affairs, there is a manager in the regulatory affairs who will assign resources, then why project manager is needed? So those functional managers assign resources based on their specific departments, based on their activities to their specific departments. But project manager has to ensure the resource allocation across the function to ensure that project will be delivered on time. So that is the resource management. Then scope management. As I explained you earlier, scope is nothing but what are the total activities those are being involved into the complete project. It is called as the scope. And then the another one important aspect that project manager has to manage is the risk and issues of the project. So if there is any risk, either it can be related to timeline, it can be related to quality, it can be related to cost, it can be related to resources, or it can be related to regulation and compliance. All those kind of risk project manager has to identify at the initiation of project. There is an uh, one document called as a risk register. Project manager has to include those risk into the risk register, assigning an owners to the that risk. For example, there is a quality related risk, CMC document related to this. So the CMC regulatory affairs person who is working on that project is the owner of that risk. So the owner has to ensure that that risk will not occur and it will not get converted into the issue. So this is what the basic role. Project manager is whole and soul, who is the coordinator, who is the owner of that project, who will ensure that all the things happen. The one key skill that project manager is needed is the communication, managing the conflicts. There are multiple departments, multiple cross-functional teams are involved into the project, and project manager has to coordinate with all of them to ensure that all will all are working within the specific timelines. If there is any conflicts happens between the two departments or the two peoples, project manager has to resolve those conflicts to avoid the hurdles that comes into the project execution and which is ultimately delaying the project completion. So this is what the role of regulatory project manager or the general project manager in the pharmaceutical industry. If you have any questions, you can put it into the chat. I will answer your questions. As I said, there are many questions related to tools that is used into the regulatory affairs or the project management. Also, there are the questions related to skill set that is needed to become a regulatory professional or the project manager. I have already included those topics into the presentation, which I will explain you in the subsequent slides. So what are the key skills required for the project manager? As I explained you earlier, project manager is responsible for cost, quality, timeline, resources, project scope, and risk management. Then what are the skills required here? So first important skill, that the communication skill. Communication skill is not just speaking the fluently. It is not the communication skill. Communication skill is means how effectively you communicate with the people, whether they are understanding your intention or not. If not, then how you are coordinating with them to resolve all, to make them understand what is the ask. This is called as an effective communication. It can be written communication, it can be verbal communication. So, project manager needs to set up a frequent meetings with all the stakeholders in the project to ensure whether their work is on time or not. That's why communication skills are needed and it is a very key aspect for the project manager. Second thing is the leadership and teamwork. As I said, there are different departments. They will do their work. But project manager has to ensure all the teams are working and the efforts of all the teams is being converted into the successful project delivery. And Obviously, the leadership. So, as I said, project manager is the leader. He is the project owner. In our company, project manager is called as a delivery owner, who is the owner of delivery or the owner of that particular project. That's why project manager must have the leadership skill. He should be able to lead the project. He should able to talk to people. In that way, he is the leader of that project. Then regulatory project manager must have the regulatory knowledge. It is just not he is having all the skills. He's having the skills to he's having all the skills related to cost management. He knows the budgeting, to decide the budget for the project. He knows how to manage the timelines. That is not enough. Project managers should have a functional knowledge as well. In pharmaceutical product development, project manager must have a knowledge how the product development is being happened. In the regulatory affairs, he should have the regulatory knowledge. What are the guidelines? What are the guidelines? What are the requirements? What are the activities being involved into the regulatory submission? What documents needs to be submitted? It is not needed that he should know all the technicalities, but the overall superficial knowledge of the regulatory affairs must be needed to become a project manager in the regulatory affairs. Then the main important skill is time management. As I said, project manager is responsible for managing the overall timeline of the project. Himself, he should be disciplined. He should be having a time management skill. If there is any delay happening, what can be the mitigation plan? How we can overcome that delay? What can be the other activities where this time can be absorbed? So those skills are needed to the project manager. Then risk management, as I already explained, all kind of risk. Either it can be the timeline risk, it can be the budget related risk, it can be quality related risk, it can be resource related risk, or it can be the scope related risk. Project manager has to ensure that he is managing all the risk throughout the project. I'll explain you the risk management with the one example. Just let me think. So, for example, there is a one submission, one dossier has to be submitted to US FDA. The timeline is 30th of May 2026. That project is kicked off today. Project manager has to coordinate with regulatory affairs, publishing, medical writing, and all the departments to ensure that all the activities will get completed and dossier must be submitted by 30th of May. But he knows that the regulatory manager has given his resign and he is going to really he's on his notice period and he is not going to work. So that is a risk. Project manager should identify that risk, that there is a resource related risk. The manager from the regulatory affairs has resigned, he is on notice period, and he may not be getting involved into the project completely or fully, and there is a risk that this submission will get delayed beyond the 30th of May. Then he has to identify that risk. Then he has to prepare the risk mitigation. Then he knows that the manager from regulatory affairs, he is going to resign. He may get relieved immediately, and there will be a shortfall of resource which will ultimately delay the project. Then he has to reach out the functional head of regulatory affairs, informing him the risk, that this is the risk in the project. You ensure that you are giving us a backup resource when this person or the regulatory affairs manager is going to relieve. And then he has to put that mitigation plan and ensure that the delay should not happen beyond the 30th of May. This is what the risk management skill that project manager requires. Then strategic thinking. That, as I said, again, it is a part of the risk management or strategic thinking, in the sense it involves the huge, including the timely approval of the product. What is the whether our project is in alignment with the company strategy or not. So he has to think into that way to execute the project. So there are multiple tools that is being used to monitor this project or to execute this project. Few of them are here: Microsoft Project, which is called as MSP, then the Smartsheet, Jira, VivoHalt, and document management system. Many companies has their own tools or the own softwares to manage the projects. But these are the general tools that is used in the regulatory affairs project management. Next slide, please. Now, this is what the tradition. I talk about the traditional regulatory affairs or the traditional project management that is happening until now. But all of us knows now there is an AI, artificial intelligence. It is being like we can say now it is a need. It is a need of society. Artificial intelligence is being used into everything. So, like how this AI is going to affect the traditional systems of regulatory affairs and the project manager. So, it includes the automated document review. Earlier, regulatory affairs professional has to review each and every document, whether data is correct, whether grammar is correct, formatting is correct. Now, AI is helping the industries to review the document automatically. Then dossier preparation. Earlier, the humans has to prepare the dossier. They have to compile the document. They need to perform the publishing, like document level publishing, then the dossier level publishing, and then they they were submitting the application to health authority. Now these activities are integrated with the artificial intelligence. I'll I'll tell you one of the example. We our company has one chatbot or one software who does the work of 4 to 5 people who needed, like, if 4 to 5 people needed to do work for 3 days, our AI system do it within the 7 minutes. So this is what the involvement of AI into the regulatory affairs. Then we can say now our job at risk because of the involvement of AI. But what you need to understand here, you need to understand, or we need to learn how this AI being involved and how we can accommodate ourselves in this integrated system of AI and traditional regulatory affairs or the traditional project management. AI is also involved into the pharmacovigilance monitoring, reporting the adverse drug reactions, and most importantly into the regulatory intelligent automation. So whatever the guidelines, whatever the new regulation that is being published by the health authorities, that is communicated timely to the people who are developing the product or who is deciding the regulatory strategy, that is done by the AI. Also the RTQ management. RTQ in the sense response to the queries. When we submit our dossier, health authority views our dossier, and whatever the doubts or queries they are having, they are communicating it to the companies or to the legal representative. So uh, in traditional system, RTQs were coming to the regulatory affairs people, then they used to draft the response to the queries, and then that is being submitted to the health authority. Now this complete RTQ management system is being handled by the AI. So this is how AI is like AI is involved into the regulatory affairs work. So it is helping people to draft the document. Uh, as I said, generative AI tools for medical writing. It can be ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or the Microsoft Copilot, who helps to write the sections, write the medical writing thing. Then there are the regulatory intelligence systems who is helping the pharmaceutical companies in the regulatory intelligence automation. And there are the AI chatbots. If I have to submit one product into the Japan, then I just ask AI chatbot, this is what the product, this is what the studies that I performed, what can be the pathway for the submission, or whether I need to have a consultation with health authority. AI will help us to decide and define the strategies. So there are a lot of tools that is being involved now, and many companies those are developing the tools to automate the regulatory operations. Next. So now, based on all this scenario, what is the future of RA and project management? So as I said, we have to get rid of the traditional system and getting involved into the new AI-based system. So our future is into the digital submissions and automation, data-driven decision making. Like we will put our lot of data into the system, and then based on the evaluation of data, we can make we can decide strategies. Based on that, we can take our decisions. Then it is helping the health authorities as well, or to the global authorities to harmonize their guidelines or to harmonize their requirement. Then uh, we have a future into the AI assisted regulatory strategy. Next slide. Now, the next thing is career opportunities in the regulatory affairs. So, what are the regulatory affairs opportunities? So, you can join and regulatory companies as regulatory affairs associate, regulatory scientist, medical writing, submission specialist, or regulatory project manager. As I said, there are multiple departments involved into the regulatory affairs. So there is a CMC department where you are responsible for all the documentation that is comes under the module 3, which includes all your chemistry, manufacturing, and control data. The people who has interest into the chemistry or manufacturing, like formulation related things, or the quality control related things, they can join the regulatory affairs CMC department. There are the other departments within the regulatory space includes the medical writing team. As I said, there are non-clinical medical writing and clinical medical writing. So we need to submit the non-clinical data in module 4 and clinical data into the module 5. And the summary of this is submitted into the module 2. So you can join the pharmaceutical company or the regulatory affairs department as a medical writer and take up these activities as an clinical medical writer or non-clinical medical writer. Then the submission specialist. All the regulatory affairs team, they prepare the dossier, they draft the dossier, they prepare the documents of dossier. Those documents needs to be submitted to health authority in specific format. As I said, there is a CTD or ECTD format. And for ECTD, you need to have an publishing of those documents in the publishing software. And then that package is submitted to the health authority so that the health authority can easily identify and intervene each and every document. So for that, there is a department called as publishing and submission. So you can join that role as a publishing and submission. For that purpose, you need to have a knowledge of the submission, publishing and submission tools. And you can join as a regulatory project manager who is responsible for managing all the regulatory operations. So these are the regulatory opportunities. These are the career opportunities in the regulatory affairs and the project management. Next. So I want to give a few tips as you already understood what is the regulatory affairs, what is the project management, but few tips that will help you to enter the regulatory affairs job or to build your career into the regulatory affairs. So you need, first of all, you need to have a regulatory affairs knowledge. You are already having this subject as part of your syllabus, but beyond the subject, you need to understand the guidelines. You need to read the guidelines. What are the ICH guidelines? ICH guideline involves quality related guidelines, safety related guidelines, efficacy related guidelines, and other guidelines related to multidisciplinary accept, which is uh, specific to standards in the regulatory in the pharmaceutical product development. So you need to understand all those guidelines. Then you need to improve your communication skills because you are the people who are going to communicate with project manager, and then you are going to write the document. uh, as I said, communication is not just about talking fluently, but it is how you are expressing your document to the health authority, how is you are writing into the document. Based on that, your dossier is getting faster approval. So you need to improve your communication skill. Also, you have to communicate with all the departments across. You need to communicate with each other. The effective communication will help you to make your job easy. Then you try to get an internship. So you can get an internship in pharmaceutical companies. You can join the pharmaceutical companies as per your internal college policy for the internship, and get a knowledge like how pharmaceutical product development happens. Then choose career accordingly. And as I said, you need to learn. We need to adopt the AI now. So you need to learn all the digital platforms, how those are being utilized in the pharmaceutical companies, and what are the AI tools. We generally use ChatGPT or OpenAI tools for our day-to-day questions that comes into our mind. But try to use these tools and these chatbots in gaining the regulatory knowledge or gaining the knowledge of pharmaceutical industry, which will help you to get into the job and cracking the interviews very easily. So these are the basic tips that I wanted to give you. And you must build your regulatory knowledge as well as your communication. Try to get an internship and get involved into the AI era and understand AI, like how AI is helping us into our day-to-day life. Next. Okay. Now, this is what actually I wanted to explain you all about the project management and regulatory affairs. I I have not explained like uh, in way like bigger terminologies. There are a lot many terminologies. There is a book called as PMBOK, which is an standard book for the project managers. There are a lot of terminologies under it, which we are following into our day-to-day life. But here I try to make as simple as, and I explain you. Now I can help you with your questions to your answers. Uh, where I can find the questions?
So you can find the questions in the Google Meet chat box, and I'll also share the questions from the YouTube if any.
Okay. Uh, Actually, I'm unable to open the questions in the chat. I'm not used to Google Meet actually.
I
Uh,
understand, no
yeah,
problem. I'll just read out the questions, but for that I'll have to exit the presentation. So is it
sure.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have received some great questions from the audience. I'll start with the first one. We had actually received some questions earlier as well, and they were clarified during the presentation itself.
Mhm.
So, some additional questions that we have received are: what are the key strategies involved in managing a regulatory submission project?
Okay. So, the strategies of submitting the regulatory affairs project is completely depends on the regulatory guidelines of submissions. So we need to have an alignment with the regulatory guidelines to submit our dossier. So these are the specific strategies that we need to follow. We
Okay,
cannot go beyond the regulatory authority guidelines.
okay. Thank you, sir. Another question was, what skills should an M-Pharmacy regulatory affairs student develop to become an effective project manager?
Yeah. So as I said, first of all, you need to have and regulatory affairs knowledge, a domain knowledge. Then you need to have and great communication skills. Then you need to have and skills that is related to stakeholder management, cost management, risk management, and the quality of deliverables. So you need to have those skills in order to become a successful project manager in regulatory affairs. As an MPharm student at this level, you need to understand the regulatory affairs procedures, what are the regulatory authority bodies, how they are uh, functioning, and you need to get and knowledge of the processes that is involved into the regulatory affairs or regulatory submissions and approvals.
Thank you, sir. Those are all the questions that we have received up till now. Thank you everyone for your questions and active participation. I hope we have tried to solve all the queries. Now, we sincerely thank Mr. Ashok Avhad sir for his insightful session and for sharing his valuable knowledge and experiences in regulatory affairs. Now, I would like to request our organizing team to kindly present the e-certificate to our respected speaker as a token of our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude for sharing his valuable time, knowledge, and insights with us today. Thank you, everyone. Now, moving towards the conclusion, I would like to present the vote of thanks. On behalf of Dr. Patil College of Pharmacy, I take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for making today's session of the National Webinar Series on Regulatory Affairs a grand success. First and foremost, I would like to sincerely thank our esteemed speaker, Mr. Ashok Avhad sir, for taking the time to share his valuable insights and experiences. Your expertise and practical knowledge have greatly enlightened all of us. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to our principal and convener, Dr. N.S. Vyavhare sir, and our co-convener, Dr. Shilpa Chaudhary ma'am, for their constant guidance, vision, and support, which have been instrumental in organizing this webinar series successfully. A special thanks to the IQAC and the organizing team for their tireless efforts in coordinating this event, ensuring a smooth and engaging session for all participants. Finally, I thank all the faculty and everyone who contributed behind the scenes to make this webinar possible. I also express my gratitude to all the participants who joined us today. Your enthusiasm, questions, and active participation truly made this session interactive and meaningful. We hope that the knowledge and insights shared today will guide and inspire you in your professional journeys. Once again, thank you all for your time and participation, and we look forward to your continued support in our future events. Lastly, I request all participants to kindly fill out the feedback form and attempt the quiz. The links will be shared with you on the WhatsApp group and in the YouTube chat box. I request everyone to kindly start their web cameras for a group photo. I would like to request everyone in the audience to please start their cameras for a group photo. Organizing team, please let us know after the photo has been clicked. Okay. Thank you to all of you and have a great day ahead.